This isn't going to be a whale, but it is going to be a shark. It's time to make another whale shark, but this time I'm going to try to make it look a little more like these. And y'all said y'all wanted to see it, so let's get started. I grabbed a whole bunch of terracotta clay. I know this may look like a large chunk of chocolate, but I assure you it will turn into a nice, beautiful orange, and when overcooked, a nice gingerbread color. When it comes to the sculpt for these whale sharks, the first thing I always do is make a giant raindrop. This is exactly what is going to be the body of the whale shark, and I built them solid to later cut them in half, scoop out the guts, and then I have a nice hollow whale shark. While I set it aside to get dry, I went ahead and started working on the tail of the whale shark, so just got that sculpted and made sure that it was in proportion with the rest of the body. Now, as you can see, this piece is quite large, so I tried to torch it to get it closer to leather hard, but it was still so wet. You can see the water from just taking it off. I ended up putting it outside in the sun for 4 hours and it still wasn't dry. So it's going in a bag overnight. It's time to scoop the whale shark's guts. Yesterday we made the body of the whale shark a large raindrop, and once it was about leather hard today, I was able to take it out of the bag, cut it in half, and start scooping out the guts. I've used this method a lot. This is the first time I've done it out of terracotta, and I was really surprised to find that even at leather hard, the piece still warped quite a bit. So it was more work than anticipated to slip and score this piece back together, as it kept warping under the pressure of my hand, so I kept constantly having to reshape the clay and even added clay in a few spots. Eventually though, after about 40 minutes, I was able to get the piece back looking the way it did, just hollow this time. So the next thing I did was take some of those guts and roll them out into a flat sheet to create all of the fins. So we needed 6 fins total. 2 for the arms, 2 for the top, 2 for the butt. And of course, I did the tail fin yesterday, so that will be added last. Once I had all of the fin placements marked out, it was time to go ahead and map out the mouth and then cut that out. It did take me a few different slices to get it nice and even, going back and forth. But eventually I had the happiest little whale shark mouth, and I could start placing on all of the fins and also marking out the eyes. Working with terracotta has been such an interesting challenge for me. If you smooth it out too much with too much water, the rocks come out. If you smooth it when it's too dry, the rocks come out. So you have to be very careful about when you're doing things. Eventually though, I did have a pretty cute little whale shark. So as you can see, we have an adorable little whale shark, and it's time to start putting a pattern on him. One of the most iconic parts of a whale shark is the spots on the top, and I love to add stars to those spots, so I will be doing a combination of both star holes and circle holes. One of the ideas that I really love, but I don't know if it's perfect for this piece, was using those little ceramic Christmas tree lights inside of it so that way those glow. But because he's going to look like a gingerbread, I'm afraid it's just going to look like he's been possessed or something's like shooting out of him. So I think that would be better for a green whale shark, and maybe I should add that to the list. But back to this guy, what you are seeing right now is the real-time cutting of a single star. It may look simple, but if you push too hard, you risk ramming or ripping through the clay. And if you don't put enough pressure, you could not cut all the way through and then have to recut lines, which can make them look really sloppy. But after cutting out a small constellation of stars, it was time for the most exciting part. Icing. No, this isn't actually icing. It is just slip in a little squeeze bottle, which is where my biggest problem of the day lies. You see, about 2.5 years ago, I ended up in physical therapy for 3 months, unable to work because of, squeeze bottles. Now, I have an air pen, so that way I don't have to use squeeze bottles when I'm doing a lot of fine line detail. But I'm hard-headed and thought, I only need it for a slip, it'll be fine. This is how far I got on the icing before my hand started hurting so bad that I kept having to pull away to rest and stretch it over and over again before trying again. I know I shouldn't have kept going, I'm just way too hard-headed. Doing these wiggly lines was one of the hardest parts because you have to maintain the same amount of pressure the entire time, otherwise the trail breaks. So at some point I was using 2 hands to try to get it done. I eventually admitted defeat, got my torch out, and set all of the slip in place. So now we have half of an uniced whale shark and half that's pretty much done. I of course will be underglazing the eyes, the belly, and then making some of these sprinkles candy pieces, but I'm really excited with how it's turning out. I just need to rest my hand overnight, and tomorrow we will be able to finish and put him in the kiln. I just got started on continuing to outline all of the holes and fill in the rest of the spaces with dots and stars, of course. I cannot even begin to explain to y'all how much less strain on my body this causes. I'm happy to say that our whale shark is officially iced, and now he's been sitting out on the table for 2 days to proof. So as you can see, over those past 2 days, he has gotten nice and dry. No, this isn't actually gingerbread, it is ceramic. So today I just did a few little touch-ups to make sure that he was ready to go in the kiln, because that is the next step. To bake him. After checking that none of the icing was too pointy, carving him, and getting out some of the excess clay from carving, it's time to put this cookie in the oven. Now, typically I would fire terracotta at cone 04, which is about 1940 degrees, but you get this color, and this isn't exactly gingerbread, but this is, and to get this color, I have to cook it at about cone 01, which is much, much hotter. So I hope he likes being warm. I went outside, put him in the kiln, and made sure that, of course, his fin wasn't going to be touching the top or getting smashed by the top, and then closed it up and set the kiln to 01 and got it started. Welcome back to part 6 of making a ceramic gingerbread whale shark. So as you can see, he came out of the kiln absolutely beautifully. I know it looks a little orange on camera. I promise it's much closer to this color you're seeing here, like a nice orangey brown. It just looks like a toasty cookie straight out of the oven. So I'm really happy with the color, and obviously the slip turned into this bright, beautiful white. So I started by giving him brown chocolatey looking eyes, and then I was debating doing red and green little candy spots on some of his sprinkles, but whale sharks just have white spots. So I decided to leave it all white. If y'all really hate it, I will add colors, but I think this was the right choice. Just wait till the end and see if you agree. So then it was going to be painting his entire underbelly white. Now, I have painted a lot of cone 04 clay, but if you remember from yesterday, this guy was kilned to cone 01. And the big difference there is that the clay is a lot less porous. And being less porous, it of course sucks up a lot less water. So the underglaze dries so slow. And as you all know, we need 3 coats of each and every color to get it to be opaque. This is extra important when you're using a light color on a dark colored clay, so I really had to lock in and make sure I got all 3 coats on there perfectly. Once he was dry, it was time to take him and his gingerbread buddies out to the kiln for their underglaze fire. I originally tried putting him in belly up, but he didn't fit, so had to put him the right way around and then get his little friends in there with him. Got it all closed up and started to 05. So today, the whale shark came out and is officially ready for glaze. So we have underglazed him, which is more like a colored slip, and now it's time to glaze him, which is more like colored glass, to make him nice and shiny. For each of them, I'm only going to be glazing their details just to make them extra cute. Once they were dry, it was time to take everybody outside and put them in the kiln, and tomorrow we will have results. But luckily for y'all, today is tomorrow. Now it's time for everybody's favorite trick. Double tap in 3, 2, 1. There we go. Here is the finished whale shark. Of course, he lights up, and I love the way these rainbow lights add that extra Christmassy vibe, but I hope you like him, and thanks for watching.